Hey, Planeswalkers, Mythras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Today is not Halloween, but I'm going to celebrate like it is Halloween. One, because I did not do a good enough job in the last episode, and two, it's one of my favorite holidays. So for those of you that are not in the U.S., and for those of you that are in the U.S., and for those of you that still celebrate, this is my take on it for today. I will do my best to keep a straight face the entire time, so hopefully you do as well. I like to think I have the credibility already, so I can wear this and we can still be friends. So anyway, with that said, Planeswalkers, I actually do have a top deck for you. This one comes from the Arena Open. It made day 2. Now, it also made it in the best of 3 realm, so most of the stuff I've seen is best of 1. This particular deck additionally is a interesting archetype. It was very popular about 1 to 2 weeks ago, kind of fell out of popularity. Now it's came back, and I think this particular one may have a nice impact on meta. We'll see. If not, it's a great one-off that I think is going to be very, very helpful in your arsenal of decks. So very, very excited to cover this one here. But before we go ahead and jump into the deck, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. I really do, in your comments. One of the things I love getting up and doing this for you every day is getting that feedback. So I really, really appreciate it. Additionally, if you would like, please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. I appreciate that support. Additionally, you can like the video if you enjoy it. You can also like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Stay up to date on content like this. And stay tuned to my journey by following down below on my Untapped profile. All right, Planeswalkers, let's go ahead and dig into it. I don't even know what to call this thing. I think it's a Triceratops, but we'll go from there. Anyway, with that said, today's deck that we have going on here is an Orzhov Yorion Doom deck. So I have not covered this one. I've been looking forward to covering this one. I've seen a ton of Esper versions, but the reality is here. This particular one I am totally stoked about. Like I said, it made it to day 2, which means it's going to be set up nicely for day 2 already, should they choose to play this deck, which I think they will. So big shout out to Guillaume Moussinet, and I probably butchered that name. And I apologize ahead of time. It's definitely probably French, and my French is as good as my English, which is terrible. So with that said, congratulations on making day 2. I'm going to continue to follow you and hope you make your $2,000 here, because that's always exciting. Now, Planeswalkers, for those of you that are new, for those of you that are returning, quickly here on the deck name and the objective of the deck. First off, we have Orzhov, which comes from the Ravnica clan in terms of a black and white, which is swamp and plains. Those combined give us the clan for Orzhov. Additionally, it is a Yorion deck because of this guy right here. This big baddie is a companion. So this companion here, and I will cover this before we go into other details and cover the deck, is a flyer. Additionally, our constraint is that we have to have 20 more cards than our starting minimum deck size. So in the case of Standard, we have 60, we have to go to 80. And then the benefit that we get is when Yorion enters the battlefield, we get to exile any number of non-land permanents we control and return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So very, very powerful as a blink. We get to reactivate a lot of the things that we may have on the board already, so particularly in the enchantment realm that we'll take a look at here in a second. Additionally, obviously, the other benefit that we get is the guarantee card of pulling Yorion for paying 3 and then pulling it into our hand. Now, the last piece of this mechanic is Doom Foretold. So Doom Foretold here is essentially a tax. So for those of you that are familiar or haven't been around for a while, it's kind of like a death and taxes. So essentially chipping at your opponent over time and doing something. Here at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-land, non-token permanent. So very, very crucial there. Non-land, non-token permanent. If that player can't, they discard a card. They lose 2 life. You draw a card, and you gain 2 life. So we draw a card, we gain 2 life, and we get to create a 2/2 night token creature with vigilance, and then we sacrifice this card. So very, very cool. Very, very awesome. Now, The difference here, though, with the Orzhov version versus the Esper version, which we have covered, is you lose Dance Romance. You also lose some of the counter abilities. But if you're very direct, particularly with this deck, which is why I wanted to cover this one, you don't really have to worry about the control side. You just keep going at them. And that brings us into a nice segue in terms of the objective of this deck. It's really about controlling the board and then hitting them with some bigger, powerful creatures, as well as other stuff towards that late game, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Now, for those of you that are new or returning, as always, the deck list is available for you down below in the description, so you have access to it right away. Additionally, I have links there for you if you prefer a different route, but you can always copy and paste the list. So, Planeswalkers, let's go ahead and walk through this list. We're going to cover the main board, then we're going to talk about the sideboard, we're going to talk about how to sideboard, and then we're going to go play some competitive Magic. The season has reset. Congratulations. We are now into the November season and looking forward to making Mythic, hopefully faster than we did last season. All right, so here's what we got going on. Lots of things, and we'll come back here in a minute and talk about these because this is going to be pretty important, and I'm looking forward to talking about the sideboard. Now, one of the reasons why I particularly, as I mentioned, chose this deck over the others is it holds up really nicely against aggro. So if you didn't catch it, there are at least, I think, 15 main board Wraths, if I recall. So yes, again, congratulations to my terrible French, my French, but congratulations to my good French friend here, I believe, Guillaume Massenet. So that was way worse than the last time. But with that said, let's go ahead here and take a look at what we got going on. So again, we already covered the companion Yorion. Here we got Glass Casket, which is perfect against aggro decks, perfect against creature decks. When it enters, we have to exile a target creature an opponent controls with mana cost 3 or less. So again, they're still going to hold that creature. If they do destroy this, it will come back. We got the Birth of Meletis. So here we get the Search for the Plains, we get the creature that's a 0/4 wall, and we gain 2 life. Next, we get Maze Mind Tomb. So Maze Mind, I love. I know many of you have heard me say this. It's a very, very important card from M21 that's gained a ton of popularity going into Zendikar's Rising. But here we get a Scry, put a Page counter on it. And then additionally, we can pay 2 and tap and then draw a card. And then when they're 4, we exile this card, we gain 4 life. But we get a lot of smoothing, we get a lot of draw of this. It's very, very crucial in this deck. Next, we have Omen of the Sun. So here it's a flash enchantment. We create 2 1/1 human creatures, we gain 2 life, and then additionally, we can always sacrifice this enchantment and scry 2. Then we have Skyclave Apparition, which is probably one of the strongest, if not one of the best cards coming out of Zendikar's Rising in terms of a rare, and particularly the white or plains. This creature enters, we exile any permanent 4 or less, and it's gone. So they're not going to get that creature back like they would with Glass Casket or that permanent back. However, they are going to get a blue spirit or illusion token, which is XX, which is equivalent to their casting cost. Next, we got Treacherous Blessing. So for those of you that haven't seen this card, I know we talked about it in the Esper version. Treacherous Blessing is an enchantment that enters. We get to draw 3 cards, but then whenever we cast a card, we lose 1 life. So, and spell, technically, not a land. So when Treacherous Blessing becomes the target of a spell or ability, you may sacrifice it. So very, very good. In terms of our Doom Foretold deck, you essentially just sack this and then you're good. And we get the 3 draw. So very powerful, a 3 for 3 draw, but you know, you may pay on the life kind of a thing, but generally you're gonna be pretty safe. Now, next, we're getting into the goodies here. This is where we're getting these Wraths. And for those of you that are new, again, Wraths are something that are essentially board wipes. We're getting everything off the board. There are some that get enchantments and all those other things and permanents in general, but just getting the creatures off the board right now in the current standard meta is huge. So here, each player who controls a creature card with power 4 or more draws a card, but we get to destroy all creatures. Again, very important against aggro decks. Now we have Extinction Event. Here we exile but we got to choose odd or even, and then 0 is even, so that means tokens. So keep that into consideration. We got our Doom Foretold, which we talked about. Now we have Solemn Simulacrum. Again, told you my English is terrible, but here, when this creature enters the battlefield, we may search our library for a basic land, so perfect for thinning. And then when this creature dies, we may draw a card. So lots of good things here happening. And again, blink, blink, blink capabilities. So all these things here have blink. This has blink with Yorion, pairs very well. Next, we got Elspeth Conquers Death. So we get to exile permanent 3 or greater. We get to delay our friends on the other side of the table or the other side of the computer, whatever you want to call it. Their non-creature spells by 2 more casting costs, and then additionally we can return target creature or planeswalker from our graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter or loyalty counter on it. So works really well with bringing back good old Yorion there, or this guy if you need to, or even Skyclave. Now we have a couple of Yorion's main board, which is awesome. I always like having that ability as well. So again, we talked about this already. Now next, this I love. This is unique, a very underplayed card. So we have a board wipe for 5, destroy all non-giant creatures. So this isn't going to hit Bone Crusher, but still very powerful. And late game, we can bring this back at 7 with Vigilance and have a 7/7 giant. Whew. And on top of that, it's not even legendary. So very, very powerful there. Very, very good. We have Miria's Call. So here again is a modal land. So we can either drop it tapped. We can pay the 3 life and have a plains. Or we can also play it, get 2 Angel Warriors, and then non-angel creatures we have get indestructible till end of turn. So another great option. Now this one I'm very excited about as well. Again, another modal land, another card that's probably underutilized, but it is a little expensive. So at 8 mana here, we destroy all non-land permanents. Now I'm surprised, to be honest, to not have seen this yet a ton in a lot of the Azorius decks or the control decks. Here, I think our French friend is doing something interesting. They're probably from Canada or something like that. But anyway, I really like this. So good catch here. And then last we have good old Ugin. So Ugin will also take things home for us, which is great. Ping for 3, wipe the board, and we can, at 10, gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and then put 7 permanents on the battlefield. So very, very impressive. Lots of things we can do. Here are the lands. We talked about the modals. We do have Crawling Barrens, which is very important, particularly in this deck. And we also got the castles. So what do we have going on here? We have 27 lands, which is impressive, particularly in this deck. But with that said, we do have, in terms of modals, we got this modal, we got this modal, so that gives us 6. And do we have any more? No, so 6 plus 27 is 33, which is pretty good. It's a little less than 50%, which is going to be aggressive, which I like. So very, very nice and well done. So that's our main board Planeswalkers. Let's go ahead and talk about our sideboard now. So here we have Soul Guide Lantern. So you're going to want to run this against things like Rakdos decks. You're also going to want to run this against decks that are leveraging their graveyard. And you may want to run it against what I call the self-serve exile. So if you are playing Dimir Rogue deck, and they're milling you, you might want to play this and then wipe your own graveyard, because then that way their guys aren't going to be as big, or have their flash rogues won't have death touch and all that stuff. Glass Casket here, you're going to continue to run for any aggro decks. You're going to run this against Mono Red. You're going to run this against Gruul. You may want to run this against Mono Green, Boros decks. We played the Warrior deck the other day, the Boros Warrior deck. Went out of decks, those kinds of things. Lots of good places to play that. Agonizing Remorse. So this is our friend against other control decks. This is our friend against other Esper or Orzhov decks. You're also going to want to potentially play this against people that are also playing good old companions. It should be that way, actually. Oop, that way. Companions. Because then when they pull them over, you could play this, pop them out of their hands. So that's another one that I always don't mention. So I want you to know that. And any of the decks leveraging the graveyard too. So you can always hit their hand, and then pull something from the graveyard instead of making them give up something in their hands. So this would be good against the Rakdos midrange too. Next, Felidar Retreat. So when I saw this one, I was pretty intrigued. And I was intrigued for a few different reasons. One, because there are 15 main board wraths, for one. And two, you don't always see this in the sideboard. So again, one of the reasons why I want to spotlight this deck. Here, I think it actually pairs very well anywhere across, whether it's, you know how I like to go, aggro, mid-range, late game. It's going to pair well against aggro because you'll get the creatures. It's going to pair well against mid-range again because you're going to get the creatures, and pair well against late game again because you can get the creatures. And the reality is with this one, when you're playing a ton of board wipes, every time that you drop that land, it's going to give you some value, which is very, very important, and a lot of people forget about that. So the ability to get some cats, hold up the board, slowly do the chip damage, tax them, right? You're gonna do a lot of work with that. Next, we have Realm Cult Giant. So again, we already have two main board. We had these two in. That's going to give us 15 to 17, I think, in terms of totals here. Let me just double check. Yep. Very, very helpful against the aggros. So you're going to want to definitely pull this in against things like Mono Red, Mono Green, Gruul, Night stacks, Boros Warrior decks. You could do it against Martyr decks, all those kinds of things. So anything running creatures, this isn't a bad one to play. Now, again, this is really going to help you in the late game as well. And then lastly here, we have Heliod's Intervention. But before I cover that one, you could play these ones and those also against rogues if you want. And Soul Guide Lantern against rogues. So last, Heliod's Intervention. Ooh. This one in particular, I do want to spend a second on this. So destroy X target artifacts and or enchantments. So realistically, this is going to be your Esper, your Orzhov, or enchantment type decks. Mirror match, potentially, or counter. That's where you're going to want to play this. Other than that, you probably won't want to play it unless you're running into issues with the life. You may want to try and pop this in here to gain some life. You could make an argument against aggro, but this deck is going to be extremely efficient against aggro with the board wipes. So again, this is more about stabilizing board against the Esper or the Orzhov mirror match, to be honest, and that's where I would play this one. Otherwise, I would probably leave it out. You could play it, actually, I'll take one step back. You could play it against mono black enchantments, Orzhov enchantments, which is one that we did. You guys can absolutely check that out. And then also mono white enchantments. So I will take that back. You could play it there, which will be very important and a key card for you as well. Whew. All right, so Planeswalkers, let's see here and how we're doing. Quickly, let's talk about the sideboard and how we're going to sideboard, and I'm going to break it into those three buckets: aggro, mid-range, and late game. So today, how do I think about aggro? So definitely we're going to pull Realm Cloaked in. You probably don't necessarily need Felidar. I do like Felidar. You probably go Glass Casket as well. And I'm going to leave these. I'm going to leave Soul Guide and Heliod's Intervention as kind of the outsiders in terms of the general. And we'll still identify two or three, and that's going to be particular to rogues decks and those enchantment decks that I talked about, mono white, Orzhov, and mono black. But where would I focus? So if I'm bumping these in, I'm bumping Glass Casket in. Preferably, to be honest, I would probably could be a tough one. You're not going to touch the lands here. I would actually probably look at Elspeth Conquers Death first, to be honest. It's too late in the game, and the value that you're going to get out of it is not as good. So that would be one spot that I would start. I also like this guy, I'm not gonna say his name because I'm terrible at pronouncing it, but this guy I like bringing in for the deck thinner. I like the draw, but you know, it's expensive and it's gonna be late in terms of what you want it to achieve. So that one would be one that I would also take a look at. I'd be hesitant to remove some of these ones because I like the thinning, I like the 0/4. I do like the additional bodies just for the block and the life gain. So that's kind of where I would probably focus. The other spot that you could do too is Ugin. Ugin's not going to be as good for you against an aggro. I would drop Ugin and then maybe go some of these other routes. So that's what, 2, 5, up to 9. So we got a lot of good places that we can optimize this deck, absolutely. And you may even want to drop a Yorion if you'd like. So that's a good spot. Now we get into mid-range. Mid-range typically is going to have Soul Guide. You're going to want Soul Guide Lantern. I'm assuming the Rakdos mid-range. You may want to consider Glass Casket. You may want to consider Agonizing Remorse. You're probably not going to need the additional Realm Cloak Giant. You may want to go Felidars. So again, let's look at 6. So we'll consider 6 here for the mid-range. Where would I go? Well, if they're not running a lot of creatures, Glass Casket's gone. But if they are, I would almost, to be honest, I would almost swap out Birth Melodies. Even though I like the deck thinning and I like the four body, it's not going to do as much value as you want with things like Soul and Glass Casket, and that's going to maintain the rest of the board. The other one, I do like Extinction Event because I like keeping things off the board. I really like this deck in terms of late game and the ability just to every turn just pop off and wipe everything. So those are some good spots for you. To play a couple different things. If I were to move anything out again, I would maybe consider this one in terms of 4. I do like Ugin later to get rid of the board. Again, against the mid-rangey type decks, you're most likely going to want Exile, so you're going to want to keep these two. Lots of good spots to optimize. The other one that you could do is Elspeth Conquers Death, particularly against the Rakdos. They're not running a ton of 3+, so the value again that you're going to get out of this is not quite as good. All right, moving into late game. So late game or mirror match, well, I don't want to call it mirror match, but particularly late game, I'd probably run Felidar's Retreat if they are running a ton of creatures or more creature heavy. I would probably put Realm Cloaked in again, or if they're more of a control, I'd go Agonize Remorse, and then again consideration on Soul Guide. So let's do the happy medium and call it 5 to make it easy. Late game, where would I focus? I would probably optimize here in the front end. Again, Glass Casket. If they're not running creatures, that's an easy one. You may want to go Omen of Sun too, but if they're not running a ton, then you can also optimize here and Shatter the Sky and Extinction Event, because those cards could become dead cards in your hand, particularly against more real control decks like Grixis Control, Azorius, those kinds of things. So that is how I would think about our aggro, mid-range, and late game. If you got questions or comments, Planeswalkers, please let me know down below. Always happy to help, as you know. There's a new one. But with that said, deck lists available for you, and here to help as always. So with that said, Planeswalkers, let's go ahead and move into our competitive Magic here. We're going to take this Orzhov Yorion Doom deck and put it to the test in both best of 1 and best of 3. So let's go ahead and get moving here for the November competitive standard session. All right, standard ranked. Let's move over to our Orzhov Yorion Doom, and we are off. All right, Planeswalkers, we are into our best of 1 here with our Orzhov Yorion deck. Now, quickly, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, you can like the video if you like it. You can also like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, stay up to date on content like this. All right, I really like this hand, so we'll go from here. We're going to actually go Maze Mind first, into Birth second. I always like this moving as fast as possible here. Unless they're aggro, then we'll go birth first. Looks like they're probably really aggro-y, so we'll go birth first. Because they played red. Ooh. Grix's control, maybe. Or Rakdos control. That's a big one now. We need to get a Doom Foretold very fast. We don't want that. We'll take this. And we'll look. We don't want that. It's a great card, but not what we need right now. Wow, Mono Red. Nice play. I'm actually going to pull Yorion over. Mono Red artifacts. This is a interesting deck for sure. Get that off the board. So I'm playing that over Elspeth. Because if they're playing anything bigger, I want to take that. We'll take this guy off the board. I'm gonna play Yorion early. Now that should drain out. Don't see a lot of people playing this deck, so it's interesting. There it did. It drained. Well, they used it for the draw, but Let's wipe and draw. We'll pull Yorion back anyway. There we go. Ah, Barons, there you go. We need to get a spur. Orzhov. All right. We got a few nice things that are going to work here.
All creation can be undone.
What's that? There we go. I like this combo better right now.
I leave you to your doom.
They'll get one more look out of Maze Mind. Ooh, they could have tapped it. They did not. There you go. That's a lot. And they're going to get Ox back in. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Well, not yet. 8. We don't have enough. So that's good. And we can hit Ox with Casket. Victor Surge. They'll get their Ox they can play. Yeah, 35. There we go. All non-land permanents. Might be time to do that. Boom. We're still at 55. They're at 31. What do I got in there? 4. The question is, do I go here? I don't think so yet. I don't think that's the play yet. Because they could still make that bigger. A little thin. I'll give it to him. I want that off the board. There we go.
I will destroy if I must. Your fate is sealed.
Ooh, they misplayed. Unless they got something else there. I shouldn't have made that a creature either, just in case. They did hit Ugin pretty hard though. So, good news. We do this. Then we do this.
Ghost fire, my greatest creation.
We need to keep this up. We'll trade on the land. Oh, don't need to. So they forgot that I have my crawling barons too. Lock there. That's why they didn't swing in. And they don't have enough. We got it. Whew. What a crazy match there against a mono red control deck. Very, very sweet. All right, Planeswalkers, let's go on to our second match here. So pretty awesome. A lot of fun. Whew, I'm sweating from that one. Okay. We'll claim on to our next match. Alright, and we are off, Planeswalkers. Whew, quick one here. Let's go. Korun it is. Let me turn that volume down once again. Alright, Doom Foretold off the bat, Temple of Silence. I like it. Let's go for it. Lots of great things here to start out this hand. I really like it. Another great card. So we'll play Undo. Well, it's not really going to matter that much, actually. I'm going to thin, because that can do something later. I'm going to go grab, actually, this one, because we can grab planes. Alright, so we got a mono red deck. We can live with that. So we're going to use Skyclave on this guy. Absolutely. Exile is always best. Got plenty of wipes. So now a board wipe is going to be the way to go. Oh, and they loaded the board. Oh, I am loving this deck. So we will play another one. We'll wipe it. Ooh. So Torbrand. What do we want to do with Torbrand here? Oh, we could wipe again. So that give me 2 and 3. Let's do that. Go Control Shift. Keep that. Draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Nice. 2 great best of 1 matches. Moving on up in Tier 4 here for the new season. Let's go ahead and jump into our best of 3 match. So we end up playing 2 mono red decks. One, the mono red control artifact deck, and then one an aggro deck. So very good in terms of capabilities here. So let's go ahead. And obviously you guys check out the Halloween deck that I did for Rakdos aggro here without the Triceratops mask, but here we go. Orzhov Yorion Doom for our best of 3 ranked here. So what I was saying is we got to see a control more late game type deck against an aggro deck, and this deck performed great against both. Actually, I felt like it performed way better against the aggro stuff too, just because of the board wipes and the control, which was really nice. So, and one of the reasons why this deck is set up the way that it is. All right, we'll play first. I will keep this. I'm debating about thinning with Fabled, actually, off the start, which I think I will. Go get our Swamp or Black Source, and we'll see what they're playing. Ooh, Selesnya, at least. Alright, WTW. Oh, what do I want to pull here? I will wait. Sucker him in with Omen, hopefully. Grab Lovestruck. So playing Casket over Apparition because we can hit something, anything with Skyclave here, which will be questing here, or board wipe. We'll go here. Scoos. We don't have any, they don't have any. I'm gonna grab this. I'll trade the Scoos. Look, I'll take that. Block. Great Henge is done. Let's look. I'll take my Doom. Sitting pretty good right now, I like to think. Now we're gonna board wipe. As much as I would like to bring that one back, we're still going to be able to bring that one back. We'll keep that. comes first. That is an interesting choice. So we'll look here. Get rid of that. 1, 2, 6. So they're going to lose Skyclave either way. We're going to be in a really nice position here. We can draw with Maze Mind. We can pop Yorion in. Boom. All right. So more creature-based Selesnya. So I feel like we go Glass Casket. I liked Elspeth. That worked fine. Glass Casket worked fine. It's not going to hit everything, though. I almost feel like we go less on the Glass Caskets. We add in Felidar, one of those. I'm just thinking here. Exile's not quite as good. Maybe we drop 2 Exiles and go 2 Glass. Just for a little bit faster. We still have our board wipes. Maybe we drop the 2 Exiles and do that. There we go. I think that's fine. We'll try that. Alright. We didn't see anything that we couldn't deal with in this deck, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen here in the next match. And we'll find out relatively quickly on how it's going to go. Hopefully we can just take this one home and call it a day, but we'll see. WTW. Ooh, I really like this. We'll see if we can make it work. If we can actually get all 4 of these down, all 3, that's going to be pretty crazy. I'm going to keep that. Grab Birth here. So we got to turn 2 into 3 into 4. And we can keep dropping the Dooms. So we'll see. We'll take Kazindu. We will take Kazindu off the board. Ooh. If we can get all these off, that's fine. They're gonna lose a card anyway. I can live with that. I think they did me a favor. Because we're just gonna play it again anyway. We will do that. We have here. Actually gonna dump Casket. Keep that. So if we could actually pair it with the right thing here. So we're gonna tap that. Ooh, it didn't give me the look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go.
Every creature deserves life, and I call, and Ikoria answers. I aimed too high.
So we need to get a Realm Cloaked on the board. That's fine. Let's then... So now we can always wipe with our Realm Cloak here and take the full board if we want. And we'll wait. We got castle here. We're sitting real good, my friends. We got lethal next turn. All we gotta do is cast Realm Cloak and we actually have game. I think we are close to good. I didn't want to wipe it. Even though we could have. We'll give him a shot. Play it out. Alright, Planeswalkers, what a day. Oof, way to start here for the new season. Very excited about this. Absolutely check out the Rakdos aggro deck. A lot of fun. This one is great. Super, super stacked in terms of those aggro decks and very awesome in terms of late game control. Let's go ahead and take a look here at it once again. Orzhov Yorion Doom, again by our friend Guillaume Mozenier. Apologies again, like I said, my French is terrible. So here we go. Deck list again is available for you down below in the description. Links down below in the description for you. And here's what we got going on. And lastly, Planeswalkers, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, if you like the video, please like it. You can also like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, stay up to date on content like this, and stay in touch with my journey down below as well if you like to do that and see how I'm progressing daily, minute by the minute, or by the hour. Anyway, with that said, Planeswalkers, I hope you enjoyed my Triceratops face here. Had a lot of fun with you, and happy again. I'll extend it for a day, Halloween, for those of you in the States or elsewhere that celebrate. And as always, Planeswalkers, I really appreciate you and your support. You take care. You stay safe. We'll see you again soon. And until next time, a lot more content coming your way. Mythras out. Take care.